The rhythmic clucking of hens filled the crisp morning air as Travis Miller stepped onto his backyard porch, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. He breathed in the earthy scent of damp soil and fresh straw, feeling an odd sense of peace amidst the perfectly manicured lawns and sterile sidewalks of Willow Creek Estates. He never imagined he'd end up in a place like this: gated communities, neatly trimmed hedges, and neighbors who cared more about property values than people. But life had a way of pulling you in strange directions. After his father's farm was sold off piece by piece, all Travis had left was a handful of chickens, a battered pickup, and a stubborn will to hold on to the only life he knew. His birds were his last connection to that world. They weren't just livestock. They were a reminder of simpler times, of waking before dawn to the smell of dew-kissed hay, of his father's calloused hands gently scooping feed into wooden troughs. A soft rustling caught his attention. He turned just in time to see Daisy, his favorite hen, hop onto the fence, eyeing the neighbor's pristine garden like a convict planning an escape. "Don't even think about it," he muttered, setting his coffee down. With practiced ease, he scooped her up and cradled her under his arm. Daisy let out an indignant squawk, but settled quickly, her small heartbeat thrumming against his chest. "You girls are gonna get me in trouble," he said, carrying her back to the coop. The trouble had already started. He found the first letter, wedged under his door last week, a cold, impersonal notice from the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. Livestock is strictly prohibited in residential areas. Immediate removal required. Travis had crumpled it up and tossed it onto his counter. No name, no signature, just a warning. At first he brushed it off. What harm could a few chickens do? They were quiet, they kept to themselves, and he even gave away fresh eggs to the neighbors. Most of them appreciated it, except one: Linda Reynolds, HOA president, the self-proclaimed queen of order and discipline. She was the type who measured grass blades with a ruler, who filed complaints over wind chimes being too loud, who patrolled the neighborhood like a sentry, ensuring every porch light was within regulation wattage. And now she had set her sights on him. Travis had seen her yesterday, lingering just beyond his fence, her eyes narrowing at his coop as if it were a ticking time bomb. He knew the battle was only beginning, and he wasn't about to back down. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more awesome content. And while you're at it, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. All right, let's keep going. The envelope was crisp, white and official-looking, the kind that carried bad news wrapped in polite phrasing. Travis found it taped to his front door, fluttering slightly in the afternoon breeze. He ripped it open and scanned the contents. Notice of violation. Dear Mr. Miller, it has come to our attention that you are housing unauthorized livestock within the Willow Creek Estates community. Per HOA regulations, Section 4, Subsection 3b, no resident shall keep farm animals, poultry, or any other non-domesticated species within residential property. You are hereby required to remove said animals within 7 days to avoid further action. The signature at the bottom was sharp and deliberate. Linda Reynolds, HOA president. Travis exhaled sharply, shaking his head. Of course, it's her. He had only been here for a few months, but he'd already heard the stories. Linda Reynolds wasn't just a rule enforcer. She was a zealot, a woman who treated the HOA charter like sacred scripture and wielded her authority with an iron fist. She was the type who would drive around the neighborhood in her silver Lexus, taking photos of houses with overgrown hedges or trash cans left out a few minutes too long. A woman who believed that property values were more important than people. And now she was coming for his chickens. Travis crumpled the letter in his fist. Not happening. He wasn't about to let some overzealous suburban dictator tell him what he could and couldn't do. His chickens weren't causing any harm. They weren't loud, They didn't smell, and they were a hell of a lot quieter than the barking Doberman 2 houses down. He turned and surveyed his yard. The coop was neatly built, tucked away in the back corner, partially hidden by a row of hedges. He had made sure it was clean, well maintained. His birds were happy, healthy, and yet that wasn't enough for people like Linda. A movement near. The fence caught his eye. A figure stood there, arms crossed, watching him. Linda. She wore her usual uniform, beige slacks, a pristine white blouse, and a Navy HOA badge clipped to her chest like a sheriff's star. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes carried a familiar, smug authority. Travis took a slow breath, forcing himself to stay calm. "Afternoon," he called, his voice even. She tilted her head slightly. "I assume you got the notice." "I got it," he said, tossing the crumpled letter onto the porch. She didn't flinch. "I hope you understand this isn't personal, Mr. Miller. The HOA has rules, and they exist for a reason. We have a standard to maintain." Travis smirked. "A standard, huh? And my girls back there somehow ruin that?" Linda gave a tight-lipped smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. "It's not just about you. If we make exceptions, others will follow. Then what? Someone brings in goats? A pig? Before you know it, we're living in a petting zoo." Travis folded his arms. "That sounds a hell of a lot nicer than a neighborhood full of people too scared to step on their own lawns." Her expression hardened. "You have a week, Mr. Miller. I suggest you use it wisely." With that, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the pavement. Travis watched her go, jaw tightening. A week. He had 7 days to figure out his next move, and he sure as hell wasn't going to roll over without a fight. Travis sat at his kitchen table, the crumpled HOA notice beside him, a cold beer in one hand and his phone in the other. He scrolled through local zoning laws, searching for anything, any loophole that would keep his chickens safe. There had to be a way. A knock at the door made him glance up. He didn't even have to check. Only one person knocked like that. Fast, impatient, and slightly off rhythm. Tom. Travis opened the door to find his neighbor standing there, a bag of takeout in one hand and a mischievous grin plastered on his face. Tom was in his early 50s, a retired mechanic with a love for poker and bending the rules just enough to keep life interesting. "Heard the chicken mafia's after you," Tom said, stepping inside without an invitation. Travis smirked. "Something like that." Tom dropped the takeout bag onto the table, plopped into a chair, and cracked open a beer. "So what's the plan? You going underground? Chicken witness protection?" Travis exhaled. "Something like that. I've been looking through the HOA bylaws, trying to find a way around this." Tom took a bite of his burger. "And?" Travis leaned forward, tapping his phone screen. "Here. It says livestock and poultry are prohibited within the community. But it doesn't define what livestock actually means." Tom chewed thoughtfully. "So what? You claim they're pets?" "Exactly." Tom let out a short laugh. "Oh, this is going to be fun." By the next morning, Travis had a plan. Step 1. Rebrand the chickens. If anyone asked, they weren't farm animals. They were therapy birds. He printed out a fake certificate from an online emotional support animal registry, just in case. Step 2. Relocation. The coop was too obvious. He had to spread them out. With Tom's help, he built a hidden enclosure beneath his deck, an old storm cellar that could hold a few hens at a time. The rest would temporarily move to Tom's garage. Step 3. Misdirection. Travis made sure to be extra visible around the neighborhood. If Linda or any other HOA spies were watching, they'd see him out front, drinking coffee, mowing his lawn, not sneaking chickens around like some backyard outlaw. Tom, of course, took it a step further. 2 days in, he started jogging around the neighborhood wearing a ridiculous neon vest with "Chicken Rights Matter" written across the back. "This is about the principal," Tom would yell, waving at confused neighbors. Travis shook his head every time, but he had to admit, it was working. For a few days things were quiet. Too quiet. Then Linda struck back. It was a Thursday afternoon when Travis saw the HOA patrol car pull up in front of his house. His gut tightened. Linda stepped out, clipboard in hand, her expression unreadable. Two other HOA board members followed, a wiry man in a polo shirt and an older woman who always smelled like lavender and judgment. Travis forced a smile as he leaned against his porch railing. "Afternoon, Linda. What can I do for you?" She returned the smile, but there was no warmth behind it. "We've had another complaint." Travis tilted his head. "A complaint? About what?" Linda's eyes flickered toward his backyard. "We have reason to believe you're still harboring unauthorized animals," Travis chuckled. "Linda, I don't know what you're talking about. All I have back there is my garden." "Then you won't mind if we take a look?" Travis's stomach twisted, but he kept his face neutral. "You got a warrant?" Linda's smirk faltered. "This isn't a police matter, Mr. Miller. It's an HOA inspection." "Right. Which means you don't have the authority to step onto my property without permission." The wiry man cleared his throat. "Actually, per HOA policy," Travis cut him off. "Per the law, this is my land. Unless you've got a legal order, you're not setting foot past this fence." Linda's jaw tightened. She wasn't used to people pushing back. Finally, she let out a slow breath. "Fine, but don't think this is over." Travis watched as they turned and walked away, his pulse still hammering in his ears. The war wasn't over. It was just getting started. The first sign of trouble was the sound of tires crunching over gravel. Travis was on his back porch, a beer in one hand, watching the last sliver of sunset melt behind the trees. The evening was still, the air thick with the scent of pine and freshly turned soil. Peaceful. Then came the headlights, bright, glaring, and far too familiar. A silver Lexus rolled to a stop in front of his driveway. Behind it, a second car, a nondescript gray sedan. Travis didn't need to see who was inside to know exactly what this was. Linda. And back up. His pulse quickened. They weren't supposed to be here. HOA inspections were scheduled, formal. This was something else. A trap. Travis barely had time to react before the car doors popped open. Linda stepped out first, her crisp white blouse immaculate despite the summer humidity. She was flanked by the same wiry board member from before and a new addition, a burly man in his 60s, arms crossed over his chest like a bouncer at a nightclub. Travis took a slow breath. "Stay calm. Stay in control." He plastered on a smile as he met them at the fence. "Evening, Linda. To what do I owe the pleasure?" Linda didn't smile back. "We received an anonymous complaint. Someone claims they heard clucking coming from your property." Travis forced a chuckle. "Clucking? Seriously? What, do I look like Colonel Sanders?" Linda wasn't amused. "We need to inspect your property. Now." "Think, Travis. Think fast." His mind raced. He had hidden the chickens well, but not perfectly. The storm cellar could conceal most of them, but two were still in the coop, Daisy and Ruby. If Linda got close enough, she'd hear them for sure. He needed a distraction. Travis leaned casually against the fence. "Linda, you know I respect the HOA rules." Linda cut him off. "Then you won't mind if we take a quick look." The burly man, who Travis now recognized as Ron from the finance committee, took a step forward. "Let's not make this difficult, son." Travis's jaw tightened. They wanted him rattled, wanted him to slip up. He had to act now. "Tell you what," Travis said, raising a hand. "I'll let you look around, but let's do this the right way. HOA. Rules say any property inspections require a signed complaint on record. So unless you can show me who filed this anonymous report—" A sudden noise cut him off. A muffled thump from the backyard. Travis's stomach dropped. Linda's head snapped toward the sound, her eyes narrowing. "What was that?" Travis let out a forced laugh. "That? That was, His mind scrambled for an excuse. "Tom," he blurted. "My neighbor. He's back there fixing my fence." As if on cue, Tom's voice rang out from the darkness. "Yup, just hammering away back. Here." Travis exhaled slowly. "Good man." Linda didn't look convinced. She motioned to the burly guy. "Ron, take a look." Travis moved to block him, hands in his pockets, forcing a casual stance. "Like I said, Linda, no signed complaint, no search." "Step aside, Travis," Linda ordered, her voice steely. A bead of sweat trickled down Travis's back. He was out of options. If Ron went back there, it was over. Then salvation came in the most unexpected form. A shrill, ear-splitting bark. A split second later, chaos erupted. A massive golden retriever, one of the neighbor's dogs, came barreling down the street, dragging its leash, its owner chasing after it in a full sprint. The dog darted straight for the fence, barking wildly, leaping against it with enough force to shake the posts. Linda let out a startled yelp, stumbling back. The wiry man actually flinched. Ron muttered something under his breath. Travis didn't. Waste a second. "Whoa! Wild dog on the loose! Crazy, huh?" He turned toward the retreating HOA members. "Probably best to reschedule this inspection, don't you think?" Linda's glare could have burned a hole through steel. "This isn't over," she said coldly. She motioned to Ron and the other guy, and they retreated to their cars. The silver Lexus disappeared down the street, the sedan following close behind. Travis let out a slow, shaky breath. Too close. Way too close. He turned toward the backyard, where Tom stood in the shadows, grinning. "Guess I owe that dog a steak," Tom quipped. Travis laughed, but it was short, clipped. This was only the beginning. Linda wasn't just suspicious anymore, she knew. And she'd be back, with a vengeance. Travis woke up to an eerie silence. It wasn't the kind of peaceful quiet that came with early mornings. It was unnatural, suffocating. Something was wrong. His chickens were always the first to greet the day. The rhythmic clucks, the soft rustle of feathers, the occasional squawk of Ruby, his most vocal hen. But now, nothing. Travis threw off the covers and bolted to the back door, his pulse hammering. As soon as he stepped outside, the icy grip of dread wrapped around his chest. The coop door was wide open. Straw littered the ground in a messy trail leading toward the fence, as if something or someone had dragged it open in the dead of night. The latch, which he always made sure to double-check, hung loosely by a single rusted hinge. No, 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 no. His heart pounded as he stepped forward. He peered inside the coop. Empty, every last one of them, Daisy, Ruby, Pepper, the rest of the flock, gone. Travis clenched his fists, trying to steady his breathing. His mind raced through the possibilities, each one worse than the last. A predator? Unlikely. The fence was intact, and there was no blood, no feathers strewn across the yard. A thief? Possible. But who the hell steals chickens? Then the most chilling thought of all hit him. Linda. He spun around, scanning the neighborhood. The houses stood quiet, curtains drawn. But someone had to have seen something. His stomach twisted. She finally did it. She finally made her move. Travis stormed back inside, grabbing his phone. His fingers shook as he scrolled through his contacts. He tapped the one name he knew would pick up. Tom answered on the second ring. "You do realize it's 6 in the damn morning, right?" "They're gone," Travis said, his voice tight. "The chickens. All of them." A pause. Then, "I'm coming over." Minutes later, Tom arrived, still in his pajamas, a steaming thermos of coffee in one hand. He took one look at Travis's face and didn't bother with pleasantries. "All right," he said, taking a slow sip. "Walk me through it." Travis led him to the coop. explaining everything he had noticed. Tom crouched down, examining the broken latch. "Someone definitely did this on purpose," he muttered. "Not a raccoon, not a dog. This was human." Travis nodded, jaw clenched. "And we both know exactly who would go this far." "Linda," Tom said, straightening up. That HOA witch finally snapped. Travis turned toward the street, eyes narrowing at the neatly manicured lawns, the quiet driveways. "She's too smart to leave any obvious trail, but there's gotta be proof. A camera? A witness? Something." Tom scratched his chin. "I might know someone who can help." Tom's someone was a tech-savvy teenager named Miles who lived a few doors down. He had a hobby of setting up security cameras, not just on his own house, but secretly tapping into nearby public feeds, for fun. Within an hour, Miles was at Travis's kitchen table, his laptop open. "You guys are lucky," Miles said, typing furiously. "I have a cam facing the street. If someone walked in or out last night, I'll see it." Travis leaned over his shoulder, stomach tight with anticipation. The footage rewound through the dark. Hours. Midnight. 1 a.m. 2 a.m. Then. Movement. A shadowy figure appeared at the edge of the screen. Travis stiffened. "Pause it." Miles did. The figure was blurry, barely more than a silhouette in the street lamp's glow. But the shape was unmistakable. Broad, shoulders, stiff posture. A woman. "Linda." Miles enhanced the image. The screen sharpened just enough to reveal something clutched in the figure's hand. A bolt cutter. Travis exhaled sharply. "That has to be her." Tom frowned. "Wait. Look at the shoes." Travis's eyes flicked down. The figure wasn't wearing Linda's usual heels or flats. They wore sneakers? His mind reeled. Linda wouldn't dress like that, and she definitely wouldn't risk getting caught herself. She had minions for that. "So if it's not her," Travis muttered, "then who the hell is it?" Just then, Miles's phone buzzed. He checked the screen and smirked. "Well, this is interesting," he said, turning the laptop toward them. "Someone just posted about your chickens." Travis's gut twisted. "What?" Miles clicked on a video. A grainy clip popped up, showing someone standing in a dimly lit garage. Behind them, Travis's chickens. The person in the video wore a hoodie, their face mostly hidden. But then, as if on cue, they turned slightly toward the camera, and Travis felt his breath catch. It wasn't Linda, it was his next-door neighbor. Travis's hands curled into fists. Greg. The guy had always given him weird vibes, always watching, always making passive-aggressive comments about real farmers moving into suburbia. But why? Then the person in the video spoke, their voice low and smug. "Some people just don't belong in this neighborhood. So I thought I'd do a little community service. Don't worry, these birds will be relocated soon enough." The video ended. Travis's blood ran cold. This wasn't just about the HOA anymore. This was personal. And now, it was war. Travis sat across from his lawyer, tapping his fingers against the desk as the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. "So let me get this straight," he said, his voice tight. "I can't accuse Greg of trespassing because the footage isn't clear enough. I can't outright prove Linda ordered him to take my chickens. And I still have to deal with the HOA breathing down my neck." Across from him, Olivia Carter, sharp-eyed, no-nonsense, and known as the most feared attorney in town, leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. "Pretty much," she said. "But that doesn't mean we can't fight back." Travis exhaled, rubbing his temples. "I need a win, Olivia. They're trying to run me out, and I'm not going down without a fight." She smirked. "Good, because I found something." She slid a thick leather-bound book across the table. It was a copy of the town's municipal code, thick with decades-old laws no one had bothered to read in years. Travis frowned. "What am I looking at?" Olivia flipped to a dog-eared page and tapped the text with a perfectly manicured nail. The Homestead Provision. It was enacted in 1974, back when this area was more farmland than suburbia. It states that any property over half an acre, if previously zoned for agricultural use, maintains the right to small-scale poultry farming, unless explicitly revoked by a town vote. Travis's heart skipped. And my property? Just over half an acre. Olivia's grin widened. And guess what? The zoning records show your land was part of an old farming tract before the HOA was even established. Travis sat up straighter, a spark of hope igniting in his chest. So, legally, Olivia continued, they can't force you to get rid of your chickens without an official vote by the town, not the HOA. And that vote would take months to even process. Travis let out a slow breath. Which means... Olivia leaned forward, eyes glinting. Which means you're not just going to fight Linda and the HOA. You're going to embarrass them, in public, in front of the entire board. A slow, determined smile spread across Travis's face. It was time for a showdown. The room was packed. Travis hadn't expected a crowd, but word had spread fast. Neighbors whispered in hushed tones, the tension thick in the air. The HOA board sat behind a long table, Linda in the center, arms crossed so tightly it looked like she might snap in half. Travis adjusted his collar and took a deep breath. He could feel Tom at his side, the silent presence of support he needed. Olivia stood. Beside him, the very picture of calm confidence. Linda cleared her throat and adjusted her microphone. Before we begin, she said smoothly, I'd like to remind everyone that this is a formal HOA hearing, not a spectacle. We expect professionalism. Travis couldn't help but smirk. She was already on edge. Good. Linda turned to him with a practiced, insincere smile. Mr. Miller, as you are aware, you are in direct violation of HOA policy regarding livestock. Your chickens must be removed immediately, or fines will be issued. Travis leaned forward. That's not going to happen. A ripple of murmurs ran through the crowd. Linda's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? Travis placed the municipal code onto the table, flipping to the highlighted section Olivia had marked. According to the town's homestead provision, I have the legal right to keep my chickens. HOA rules don't override town law, meaning you can't force me to remove them unless the town itself votes on it. Linda's expression didn't crack, but her fingers twitched slightly as she skimmed the page. The board members shifted uncomfortably. One of them, an older man with wire-rimmed glasses, cleared his throat. This can't be right. We've had rules against livestock for years. Olivia smiled coolly. And yet, this law was never revoked, which means you are the ones violating his rights, not the other way around. A stunned silence filled the room. Then, a single chuckle from the back. Travis turned slightly to see Tom barely containing his grin. Linda exhaled sharply, flipping through her own documents, her composure slipping. We will need time to verify this claim. Olivia nodded. Take all the time you need. In the meantime, I assume you'll be waiving any fines against my client and formally retracting your complaints. Linda's jaw tightened. She hesitated for a fraction of a second too long, then finally, she nodded. Fine. For now. Travis didn't let his guard down. This wasn't over. Linda wasn't the type to back down without another trick up her sleeve. But tonight he had won, and he'd make damn sure his chickens were back where they belonged. The HOA meeting room was packed, standing room only. Travis could feel the weight of 100 eyes on him as he sat at the front table, his jaw clenched, his pulse pounding like war drums. He wasn't just here to defend his chickens anymore, he was here to expose them. Across from him, Linda Reynolds sat stiff-backed, a forced smile tugging at her lips. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped against the table, the only sign of her simmering irritation. She thought she still had control. She was wrong. Olivia sat beside Travis, her expression calm, but he knew she was waiting for the right moment to strike. Tom stood near the back, arms crossed, giving him a silent nod of support. This was it. The final battle. Linda cleared her throat and leaned into the microphone. "Before we begin," she said smoothly, "I'd like to remind everyone that this is a structured HOA hearing. We will address Mr. Miller's continued defiance of community rules and issue a final ruling on his unauthorized livestock." Travis chuckled under his breath. "Livestock? You make them sound like I have a whole damn farm in my backyard." A few people in the crowd chuckled. Linda's jaw tightened. She pushed on. "Mr. Miller, you were made aware of our policies when you moved in. The rules apply to everyone. We cannot make exceptions just because you don't like them." Travis leaned forward. "That's rich, coming from you." A murmur spread through the audience. Linda tilted her head, feigning innocence. "I don't know what you mean," she said. Travis pulled a folder from his bag and slapped it onto the table. "Then let me jog your memory." Olivia slid a page toward the board members. "We did some digging," she said, her voice cool and measured, "and we found something interesting." Linda glanced at the document, then went still. Travis saw it, the barely perceptible twitch in her eye, the way her fingers curled slightly against the table's edge. He had her. Olivia continued. "This is a record of discretionary fines issued by the HOA over the past 5 years. And you know what's funny? While Travis has been fined repeatedly for something that isn't even illegal, several other homeowners, ones very friendly with this board, have had multiple violations completely ignored." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Tom smirked. "Well, well, would you look at that?" Linda let out a short, unamused laugh. "This is ridiculous. Our fines are issued based on severity." "Really?" Travis cut in. "Because I see here that Greg, from your little circle, had a fence 5 inches over regulation height, and instead of fining him, you grandfathered it in. Meanwhile, you threatened to evict me over a few chickens?" More whispers. A few nods. Linda's mask of control cracked slightly. This is not the discussion we're here to have." Travis stood. "Oh, I think it is. Because what this really proves is that this isn't about the rules. It's about control." Linda's lips thinned. "You're being dramatic." Travis smirked. "Am I? Because I also have this." He pulled out another document and held it up. "The HOA financial records," Olivia said smoothly, "which show irregularities in fine collection. And by irregularities, I mean missing money." The room went dead silent. Linda's face drained of color. One of the board members, the older man with the glasses, Mr. Holden, frowned deeply as he took the paper from Olivia. His eyes scanned the document, his expression growing darker by the second. "Linda," he said slowly, "is this true?" She opened her mouth. Shut it. Opened it again. I don't know where this is coming from, but it's—" Holden looked at the others. "We're going to need a full audit of HOA finances." Travis crossed his arms. "And until then, I assume all fines, including mine, are suspended?" Holden nodded firmly. "Effective immediately." A stunned silence stretched across the room. Then a single clap, Tom. Then another, and another. Within seconds, the room erupted into applause. Linda sat frozen, her nails digging into the table. She had lost. Travis turned to Olivia, who arched a brow. "Well," she murmured. "That went well?" Travis exhaled. "Yeah. But something tells me Linda's not going to go quietly." Olivia's smile was razor-sharp. "Let her try." For the first time in weeks, Travis felt something close to peace. He had won the battle. But the war? That wasn't over yet. The air inside the HOA meeting room was electric with anticipation. Every seat was filled, and even more people stood against the back wall, whispering amongst themselves. The room, once Linda's domain, now belonged to Travis. He could feel it. The tide had shifted. At the front table, Linda Reynolds sat rigid, her lips pressed into a thin line. The usual confidence in her eyes had been replaced with something colder, something desperate. Travis knew this wasn't over until the final nail was hammered into the coffin. And that was about to happen. Mr. Holden, now acting as the neutral authority on the board, cleared his throat. After reviewing the financial discrepancies, as well as the unjust enforcement of selective fines, we've come to a decision regarding Mr. Miller's case. A beat of silence. Travis held his breath. Holden adjusted his glasses. The HOA will officially retract all complaints against Mr. Miller regarding his chickens. Furthermore, all fines issued under these selectively enforced policies will be refunded to all affected residents. A roar of approval erupted from the crowd. Travis let out a breath. He had done it. Tom clapped him on the back. Olivia offered a small, satisfied nod. Linda, however, wasn't moving. Her fingers curled into the table's edge, knuckles white. Holden raised a hand, signaling for quiet. Additionally, he continued, his tone grim, there will be a full audit of HOA financial records. Given the evidence of mismanagement, we will be appointing an independent investigator to determine whether legal action is necessary. Linda shot up from her seat. This is a witch hunt. Holden didn't blink. Sit down, Linda. I have done nothing wrong. Her voice cracked. This entire thing is a smear campaign against me because of him. She pointed a shaking finger at Travis, her face blotchy with rage. Travis simply smiled. You did this to yourself. More murmurs. The energy in the room had shifted completely. Linda's control was gone. She was drowning, and Travis was about to watch her sink. The meeting adjourned in chaos. Some people left buzzing with excitement. Others stuck around in groups, dissecting every detail. Travis had just stepped outside, the cool evening air a relief against his skin, when a voice stopped. Him. Travis. He turned. Linda. She stood in the shadows near the HOA building entrance, her posture stiff. Her voice was lower now, the arrogance stripped away. You think you've won? Travis exhaled, already tired. I did win, Linda. She took a slow step closer. You don't understand how this works. You think you embarrassed me, humiliated me in front of the board. You humiliated yourself, her jaw clenched. But then, something strange happened. She smiled. It was small, subtle, and wrong. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into, she said. Travis's spine tensed. See, she continued, almost amused now. You think you just took down an HOA president, but the people above me? She shook her head. They don't take kindly to losing money. Something cold settled in Travis's stomach. What are you talking about? Linda sighed, as if talking to a child. You think all that mismanaged money just disappeared? She leaned in, lowering her voice. You don't want to know where it went. Travis didn't flinch. Try me. She studied him for a long moment, then chuckled under her breath. You're so naive. She turned to leave. Travis grabbed her arm. Hey, take your hands off me. Her voice was sharp, but her eyes held something deeper. Fear. Not of him. Of whoever she was talking about. Travis let her go, watching as she strode toward her car and disappeared into the night. A cold wind whipped through the parking lot. Tom stepped up beside him. What the hell was that about? Travis's fists clenched. I don't know. But he was going to find out. Travis's victory should have tasted sweeter. The HOA was in shambles. Linda had resigned under pressure. The town was buzzing with rumors about missing funds, corruption, and the possibility of full-scale legal action. His chickens were safe. His name was cleared, and yet, something about Linda's last words wouldn't leave him alone. You don't. Know what you've gotten yourself into. One evening, Travis was in his backyard tossing feed to his chickens when he noticed something strange. A car parked down the street. Black, tinted windows hadn't moved for hours. He frowned. His fingers hovered over his phone. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe. Then the car's engine started. Slowly, almost deliberately, it pulled away. Travis watched it disappear down the road, his heart pounding just a little too fast. Later that night, Travis sat on his porch, staring out into the darkness. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and damp soil. A cricket chirped somewhere in the distance. He should have felt safe, but he didn't. His phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown. Number. Travis. Swallowed hard before opening it, a single text. No name. No introduction, just 3 words. This isn't over. Travis's blood ran cold. He looked up, scanning the street. The trees swayed in the wind, their branches casting eerie shadows. For the first time since moving in, he felt watched. His chickens clucked softly in their coop, oblivious to the storm still brewing. Travis exhaled slowly. The battle was over, but the war? It had just begun. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the next part, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated. See you in the next one. Your support means the world.